real estate, as long as you can hold it, it comes back. And it's there. Like I've tried all these other investments and I've made some money here and there, but real estate is just consistent and permanent, and it doesn't take rocket science.
Welcome to the I Own It podcast with Ben Reinberg.
All right, we are live from the Ben Reinberg I Own It show today in Laguna Beach, California. And today's guest, our mystery guest, is someone who's in my business, which I love when we're going to talk about real estate. But real estate, as everyone knows, has a lot of great life lessons, personally, business-wise as well. So Krisstina Wise, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on, and we appreciate it. And thanks for being here on an early morning.
Hey, my pleasure. So happy to be here. I love this conversation.
So let's kick things off. Share your journey of becoming a real estate mogul. Most people know my journey and my stories, but they always like to hear everyone else's and how they got to where they became. And then you became a successful millionaire coach and built several multi-million-dollar businesses, and you're an author. So share your journey so people can understand that they can do it too, and how you became so successful.
Oh, that's a $1 million question. You know, my mind, I start the story to always say that, I like to, all the rags to riches stories are overdone in my opinion. But, I kind of laugh about it jokingly, is that I really am that rags to riches story, starting a trailer home and a really teeny tiny small town and very few resources and no education and, starting there. So I always think like, man, I started way behind to have to learn and to grow and to really remove myself from that mindset, that mentality, that environment to have the opportunities that then have presented themselves. But so I like to start there. And I say that because what I teach now is money and wealth mindset. And I teach that because money and wealth is available for everyone, but our mindsets, we have the wrong mindsets and we don't understand money because it's not taught in school. So for me, it's become a lifelong journey to really learn about it. But I started in real estate after college. I actually got a job. I was an accounting major and got a job with a big six accounting firm, one of the big six right out of college, which in my day was a big deal. But I started working for the man, so to speak, and I hated my life. And I thought, you mean I went to school for all those years to sit in this dungeon and do this shit work, and I hate my life? And I just said, screw this. I'm not going to do it anymore. I moved to Aspen and just skied for a couple of years and tried to figure out, what I wanted to do with my life. But it was kind of starting there, realizing that I wasn't really built for working for somebody else. And then made my way to real estate thinking, okay, this might be something good that's part-time to make some money. Maybe I'll go back to grad school or something. But ultimately fell in love with real estate, started with real estate sales. And I had the great opportunity to work with a man named Gary Keller when he was at the very beginning of building his company. He's now a billionaire. But he was he's a brilliant man. You have to be pretty brilliant to be a billionaire, in my opinion. But he was so brilliant. He really taught me how to think, just coming straight out of college at a young age, getting into real estate. So I had that advantage. And he built that whole company and teaching us really how to learn and how to build business. So early on, where I saw a lot of real estate agents who were just selling houses, I was learning how do I build this into a leveraged business where I'm not just hustling houses, but how do I build leverage? How do I build a business? And so went to build a really good business. It became really a national icon and phenomenon that was like the leading independent brokerages. So I tell all that story that real estate started with real estate sales, then started with real estate brokerage and real estate business and empire, which was title companies and mortgage companies and all the things. So what's interesting about that story, though, that I like to tell is that I had a lot of fame and success in the industry as an owner, as a leader, as all the things. But my business isn't what made me wealthy. In fact, I almost went broke from business more than once. So that's the change in mentality. But what I learned was like, wow, I was in real estate building this empire and taking a lot of risks and putting a lot of capital and money into it. And all this real estate that I was buying on the side was actually starting to grow and was starting to really pay off. And then I got sick. I had I had a real health crisis about almost a decade ago. And that experience, it took me out of the game. And what I learned from being an entrepreneur and business owner and really succeeding in that environment was that the day that my body quit working, what happened to my business? And I had hustled so much. I'd sacrificed so much time, energy, money, family to build this business and, on a plane so much. And I'd given this business, my employees, all of it. I think any of us as business and entrepreneurs know what this feels like. And then the second I wasn't in that damn thing because I had to focus on getting, trying to figure out what was wrong with me and kind of save my life in that, my business deteriorated so fast. Even though I thought it was leveraged, even though I thought I had good team members and all the things, I was wrong. So that really was the kind of that life lesson that caused me to do what I'm doing now, is that as business owners and entrepreneurs, it can't just all be about business and chasing the money in the business. And entrepreneurs, we have to, yes, build a business and hopefully build a sustainable, profitable business. But at the same time, there's these three buckets of life that we have to take care of. We have to take care of we have to take care of our business, but we have to take care of our relationships. So much we sacrifice our relationships for this business machine, all for the sake of hustling, usually the money. And then we have to take care of our health. I wasn't taking care of my health. I was using my body to, using my health to build my wealth. And I had to use all my wealth to get my health back. And the other container really is our investments, is that passive income, that asset, the accumulation of assets and net worth. So ultimately, what saved my life wasn't my business. What saved my life was that I had accumulated some assets. I did have some real estate cash flow that paid the bills when the business just, took a nosedive. And I was able to sell assets to actually get the cash that was necessary at the tune of $250,000 to be able to be here today. So that became really, I'll sum all that up to became this life lesson that business, career, success, entrepreneurship, and money there's so much to this conversation that's outside of just hustling more and trying to scale and make a bigger business. It incorporates a lot more balance and a lot more finesse, financial finesse, than just business success.
And it's so true. I mean, I have a similar journey. I'm a CPA. I went through a tax season. I hated it, Krisstina. I looked at myself and I said, okay, who is Ben Reinberg? Well, Ben Reinberg is an entrepreneur, and that's when I got into real estate at a young age. And there was no internet at the time, so it was asking questions, like you did with Gary. Same thing, finding people that can give me advice that've been there and done that. Good mentoring and coaching, and just asking questions and going out there and being fearless. But what you said was really interesting to me, because I am into health and wellness, and all my listeners and my circles know it's important to me. And I've been doing it for years. And the reason why is that because it makes me a better person on a holistic basis, better relationships. I show up better in life. I'm more present. I can create a bigger impact when I'm healthy. And so people ask me, well, why do you do that? Why do you not drink? Why do you drink so much water, take supplements? Why do you wake up at the crack of dawn and go train with Andrew and do the things you do, Ben, and eat healthy? It's that holistic approach I take. And so if one, like you said it best, if one side of your life is suffering, other sides are going to suffer. One thing we do in my company Alliance, Krisstina, which is interesting, is we know that your personal life and your business life is like a handshake. And if one is suffering, the other is going to start suffering. They impact each other. And so we create this environment, this community, where we can learn about people's personal lives to help them design their playbook of what a successful life looks like. And a lot of people ignore that fact, and you didn't. And I think that's really important to note. So in your latest venture is Wealthy. What's your company's mission and business model? I mean, our company mission is to produce wealth for our employees and to hit certain assets under management. What is your company's mission and business model? And how do you think about the balance between financial wealth and personal well-being?
Yeah, I just Love all the questions. I got my ass handed to me, Ben. Like I wasn't smart enough to realize on my own that, oh, there's all these concerns we need to take care of at the same time. I was so singularly focused on getting rich and building the successful business that was going to make me rich. And everything else took a far second, third, fourth, and fifth at the time. Now I was oblivious to that. I didn't realize that I was just in that drive and that hustle to build, this successful thing. And that, then I got a hockey stick to my shins that took me down. And then I had my wake up like, oh my God, I think I got the lessons, but it was not, I wouldn't recommend it the way I learned the lesson. I'd recommend listening to podcasts like yours and maybe mine to pick up on these things before we have the big crisis. But you said something else there as well. And in this world of entrepreneurship, let's say, is that most all the conversation, anything you listen to is more success, more business success, more business success, more business success, and scale, grow, hustle more, faster, be more, do more, have more. And that's the messaging out there. And so to measure up and feel like, we're worthy in this big, business universe, we have to be more and build this bigger thing and have more bragging rights to how many zeros we can add, we can say that we have behind our machine. But again, it's just that conversation is so one-sided. If we can change that conversation with what you're trying to do is say, it's about life success, because happiness is about the overall quality of our entire life. And so when we call it wealthy, we call it lifestyle architecture, which sounds like what you're doing, is it first starts with asking the question, what is my good life? Like, what is a good life? What's a good life when it comes to relationships? Meaning, do I want a happy, healthy marriage? Do I want a healthy, happy relationships with my children? If so, what's required for that to be the case, if that's going to be a big piece of me being fulfilled in my overall life versus having 2 or 3, 4 divorces, or my kids hate me or my spouse hates me, that type of thing. And maybe some people, fulfilling life doesn't matter if it has lots of upsets in relationships, but I'd say most people care about the relationships. And like you said, health-wise, I learned the hard way is that, because I took my body for granted, but I learned the hard way that, oh my gosh, if you don't have a healthy body, nothing in life matters. You ask the person who is really suffering with a serious disease or a health concern, all they want is their health back. I always say, do you think Steve Jobs would have given his last $1 billion away to have another 10 years of life? And he probably would have, but we get so singularly focused versus realizing, no, if we're entrepreneurs, to succeed as business and owners and entrepreneurs, we have to really use our body. Business is not easy. Building a successful, profitable business that makes enough money that takes, can fund the quality of the life that we want. It's work. It's not easy. Otherwise, ever be doing it. And so it takes in, it's, the metaphor is like the F1 car. If our bodies have to be F1 cars to win the race and win the race consistently, race after race after race, which means the business is consistently profitable. An F1 car takes so much investment in that car so that it can do those races. If you just race it, it's going to break down one day. It is very expensive to repair as opposed to probably maybe the Chevy. So we have to really look at our health, but it's not just our physical health. It's our mental well-being as well. Like our psychological mindset and how we view the world and what we allow into our environments and just our overall mood every single day. So all of that's a lot to take care of. So health-wise, it's like, again, if I want to be healthy and I want to be vital that I can give to this business over here, am I meditating? How much water am I drinking? What supplements am I taking? What investment am I putting into my body on a regular basis? Am I all the things, knowing that a healthy body means a healthy mind. A healthy mind means we can be more successful in business. And then it comes back that we feel better. We feel happier. So relationships, like you said, are our physical, mental, emotional well-being and our health. And then, of course, this financial piece. So all of that to say is that when we can design what is a good life first, then the second step is, how much does it cost to live it? And so this is what I call adulting. Like, as adults who want to live good lives that are fulfilling and happy, great relationships, good health, and good financial well-being, but we need to know, what is a good life and how much does it cost to live it? And very few people do this work, because then when we know how much it costs to live it, now we can determine the best, thing for our family within the trade-offs we're willing to give or not give is, how much money do I need to earn in my business? So that it's not hustle for always more. It's like, as long as I can build a business that can produce enough money to cover the cost of my life today and produce enough surplus so that I can invest for my future self-life tomorrow, this is all I have to do. Now if I'm not trying to be the next billionaire, because I don't want to make the sacrifices required to do so, and I'm just fine having a $10 million net worth and having, $750,000 come in, that's enough for me. So I don't have to give up any more, trade off any more time, energy, or money, to be spending in experiences and quality of life to go beyond that. So that's what I do today, with Wealthy, it is about money, but it's not about the money. The money is what we do and how we are in the handshake, to use your metaphor, in the handshake with the quality of life that we want, to know that it's not about the money, it's about the quality of life, but how much money does it take to underwrite the cost of living that life?
One thing you touched on, which I think is really important, that wasn't said, that people should realize, is give yourself space. Give yourself space. We're all trying to rush. I see this with a lot of younger people that come to me for mentoring. For some reason, I'm getting into this mentoring more and more. People are coming to me. And the first thing I notice is, I say, what is going on in the morning? What's the morning routine? And I'm getting up at 5 or 5:30, and I'm going. And I got my phone next to me when I'm sleeping. I got the blue light. I have no detachment from life or business. And that's not how we were made. We were made to be able to think. And most people, Krisstina, don't give themselves the privilege or the time and the space to think. And what I've realized now that I'm a young 53-year-old man, I've realized that if you can give yourself space to think, go slow things down, everything else speeds up. Success, business, relationships improve. Things become easier, because especially in a relationship, business relationship, personal relationship, what ends up happening is that when you're present and you could be yourself and you can offer value to someone, guess what? Great things happen. Opportunities present themselves just by slowing down, by being grateful in the moment. And that's really important. And so in your book, Falling for Money, you discuss the emotional aspects of financial decisions. So everyone knows out there, how can individuals better understand and manage the emotional side of money?
Yeah, that's a packed question. To piggyback on something you just said before answering that question, one of my favorite mentors, she said, everything's created twice. And at first I didn't know what she meant by that. What do you mean, like, everything's created twice? And then I realized that when you look at everything in our world, let's look at Disneyland. So Disney created this vision of Disneyland in his mind first. Like, he had all the characters, all the vision. Nobody else could see it. Nobody else knew about it. It was all in his head. And it was all thinking time. It's all creative time. It's all imagination time. And then it gets created twice. I mean, it comes out of our imagination and it turns real because it gets built and becomes real. And now we all, know what Disneyland is and, can it have that experience. So everything created twice, again, especially as business owners and entrepreneurs. It's not even business owners and entrepreneurs. It's we have to be the creators of our own life. Meaning that's what I mean, that we have to design our good life first. Like, we have to imagine it, we have to design it, then we have to architect it, then we have to build it and do all the things that we're required to do to make that future dream or vision a reality. But it requires thinking time. It requires that quiet time to slow down, to check out, to get on a whiteboard, to be in a journal, to just stare up into space. I stare into space a lot. I actually have thinking time on my calendar, but I stare in space a lot, and people walk in and be like, "Oh, are you daydreaming?" I'm, well, I'm like, well, kind of, but not the way you think. Like I'm actually thinking and trying to work through things, and I'll go to the whiteboard. But to your point, exactly, it's so important to build in that thinking time. Another mentor of mine, whose name is Keith Cunningham, and he taught me that idea that you really do need to think and not just think, but to really build it into your calendar. And it requires to get out of that busy go, thinking I'm wasting time because I'm in a hurry, and to build that in. And it's great. And also we're so much more creative. I live in Park City, Utah, and every day there's a break in the day to go for a walk. And I mean, every day, Ben, it's like, oh my God, the mountains are so beautiful. And but then what I say that is because many times we're going to a walk and we're on our phone or we're checking, like it's that check out for that experience of gratitude, to connect with nature, to connect, to just be in that space of recognizing and noticing our environment and how lucky we have it and what's grateful in our life. And so building on that gratitude piece is really important too for quality of life. And the more happy we are and fulfilled, that ripples into our business, that ripples into, because that's the human we're bringing to these things versus, we've been conditioned somehow to be always striving for the there. And we've heard this before, but I'll spend more time with my family when the business is a certain size, or I'll focus on my health after the business is a certain size, or I'll start investing when I start earning enough money. And so we're always pushing our life off to the there versus, bringing it forward. So anyway, to piggyback on what you said there, and the emotional side of money, it's funny, like there's what I call the business side of money and the personal side of money. And business owners, entrepreneurs, what I say, the number one money myth for business owners is that if I scale my business and I make enough money, all my money problems will go away. Mm-hmm. So that belief, that mythical belief, has it hustling and keeping in that business, trying to make it enough money. But no matter what, with that narrative, more is always better. And it's under this thing that there's never enough, this belief there's never enough. So the emotional side of money starts with what I call knowing how much money is enough. And it's a philosophical question that goes back to what I said before, like how much is a good life and how much does it cost to live it? And knowing that's enough, like that's enough money that can satisfy all my concerns, that can really provide the quality of life that I want. That if I had that amount, I'm out of the suffering, I'm out of the hustle, I'm out of the financial stress, and there's enough for me to be able to really spend it to be able to enjoy this quality of life. So how much money is enough? That's if we can get to knowing that answer. That's the first step that I talk about in the book of being able to change our emotional connection to money. But business money, you and I, Ben, we can talk about our businesses. I can say, hey, my revenue's this. You can say your revenue's that. I can say, hey, I have a 30% profit margin. You can say, hey, I have a 35% profit margin. I can say, hey, I'm spending 10% on marketing. And we can compare notes, and you and I can sit down at a table at a coffee shop and just pragmatically talk about money and business like no big deal. Not a lot of emotion there, right? It's just business. Now, you and I can sit down at a coffee table, and now we've opened up this conversation about personal finance. Now, all of a sudden, it got really, really emotional. Now it's like stepping back. Like, I don't want to talk about my personal books. I don't want you to see what's behind closed doors. I don't want to tell you about the argument I had with my spouse last night that the credit cards are maxed out, or all the things. So personal finance, meaning money in our personal bank accounts, is very emotional. And it tears apart families. It causes people to be unhappy, a lot of fear, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, a lot of divorce, a lot of bad relationships with children, all because we don't understand how to have a healthy relationship with money. And we don't understand how money operates and how much money is enough in a way that we have money as a concern in our house and our life that makes it a very approachable topic. Money is otherwise taboo. So, and it goes back, Ben, like your childhood with money and what your parents did and said about money. And if you and I were married, now we're bringing my baggage and your baggage. Now we don't want to talk about it, or we fight about it. So that's the thing, that without understanding, I talk very pragmatically about money, how much money is enough, how to know your numbers, how to build wealth, how to create passive income. I can do all those things and do those in my business have a money school and a health and wealth coach. I mean, a money and wealth coach, not a health coach. Although I could be at this point. But all of that, I can teach all of that. But unless we really, like you said, sit down and work on our emotional reaction to money and our emotional experience with money, and ultimately that relationship, money is just going to wreak havoc in our personal lives and in our business lives, for that matter.
It's so true, because what ends up happening is, and just to kind of wrap what you said, which is important, is a lot of people are so worried about being judged. And if you don't judge people, you really can be out ahead. And also being vulnerable. One thing I teach people, especially my employees, my leaders, and people outside in different industries that ask me for advice, is be vulnerable. I did not become the person I am today without saying, I don't know. I don't know, Krisstina. I don't know the best way to finance this. I don't know the best way to treat this employee. I don't know the best way to handle this system or this situation or this fear. I don't know how to manage this situation. You have to be vulnerable and you have to ask for advice. I always say the person that raises their hand always wins, because they will get the answers to the questions they seek, and they will grow faster than anyone. And so that was a lesson someone taught me a long time ago that I want to share with everyone, that you're really touching on, is vulnerability. And vulnerability is a very, people that have this masculine energy are worried about, am I touching my feminine energy if I ask for advice? If I have feminine energy and I ask for advice, am I even weaker than I look right now? So the human mind is so interesting that I keep learning more and more about and doubling down on, because if you could balance your emotions in your mind, Krisstina, and everyone out there, you will have a productive, healthy, happy life. And it's so true. Let's switch gears a little bit, because obviously we both love real estate and we might as well share our knowledge and love. So real estate investment can come with various challenges. And this is a very interesting market. We're in a rising interest rate market. There's gaps between the bid and the ask, whether it's residential or even my space and commercial real estate. Share some of your most significant challenges you faced, and how did you navigate through them in your career?
I mean, I love real estate. And really quick, just to complete and piggyback off something you said again, when it comes to vulnerability, and so true. I mean, it is the vulnerability, but all categories of life. But what's so interesting, Ben, is that, again, we're so focused on success in business and career. We're not willing to admit that we're financially illiterate and financially ignorant when it comes to our personal finance. And the people I work with, they're successful business owners. They make a really good profit income at their business, and it's a shit show behind closed doors at their household. So just because we make a lot of money doesn't know we know what to do with it. And if you look at the statistics of the credit card debt, and the over 80% of this country is month to month, regardless of how much money they're making in their business or in their career. These are families. If you're month to month, it is effing stressful. And it's a trap. So, but we're not asking for help. We're not vulnerable, because to be successful in business, you can't go really admit over here like it's a shit show behind closed doors. Personally, I've maxed out credit cards. We're fighting about money all the time. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to get out of this financial situation. And so I guess it's just to make more money in my business. And again, I call that the entrepreneurial money trap. But to your point, I'll close that thought, is when it comes to finances, anybody listening is to, if you're in that month-to-month situation and it's just not working out, ask for help. Find somebody like me or Ben or someone that can really help you learn, because it's obvious how to make money and spend money. It's not obvious how to use money in a way that allows it to work for you. So that's a segue into real estate. And so, yeah, I say that there's these three parts of money, and it's like these three master categories of money. And the way I speak it and teach it to my students and my clients is that it's like having, in the health realm, I don't know if you're into functional medicine or anything, but in the health realm, let's say, we have our brain, we have our heart, and we have our gut. And I think we'd all agree if we're going to have a healthy body, our brain needs to be healthy, our heart needs to be healthy, and our gut needs to be healthy. If we have a super healthy brain and do all the, nootropics and all the brain work and take care of our brain, and we take care of our heart, we exercise, we do our cardio, we do all the good things, we have a healthy heart, but we took a lot of antibiotics and we destroyed our gut. And now it doesn't even matter how healthy our heart and our brain is. Our gut is wreaking havoc. And now we're not healthy. So to have a whole system, a body system that's healthy, we need to take care of all three. And sometimes one area needs more work than the others for the whole thing because everything's integrated. So money is the same way, like these three master organs or these three master categories. And one, again, I think most of your listeners are business owners and entrepreneurs. So that's the money. So when it comes to money, that's the money in the business. And it's to understand that we have to understand money in the business. We need to know how to read a profit and loss. We need to know our cash flow statements. We need to know how to look at our balance sheets. We need to know how to, make assessments of all of the money in our business. And ultimately, we're always running the money so that we generate a nice profit that we end up paying ourselves at the end of the day. So that's that thing. So I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, small business entrepreneurs. They just want to be the creators. They just want to go do the things. They don't want to pay attention to the money. They want to abdicate it. They want to give it to the CPAs, the bookkeepers, without understanding, like, no, it's your money. You work hard for it. You sacrifice so much. And the business is about the money. It's about what's left over at the end of the day. So it's really important to understand how money operates in your business, even if you don't like the money part. And it's not that hard. So that's that one piece of money. And ultimately, we're just building a business that can provide that sustainable profit. Now we take that money from our business and we move it into our household finance. So household finance, I teach everyone I work with that now your household is the business of creating wealth. So I want you to still run a household profit and loss. And the profit piece is the piece that you're not spending, that you're going to invest and put other places. So, it's understanding how to track your money like a business, because you're going to build wealth and passive income by how well you manage your personal finances. Quality of life lives in the management of personal finance, not business finance. Business finance is just about making a profit. Household finance is about building wealth and spending money in a way that, like I said, underwrites the cost of living a good life. So it's very important that we understand money and create that relationship with money and manage our money effectively in that second piece, which is called household finance. Then the third piece is the money we start investing over time so it can grow to a sizable net worth. And that net worth then turns, hopefully, it's income producing assets that we build, and that we can live off that passive income, and that's called financial freedom. But we have to manage those assets. We have to look at those, work with someone like you that helps us invest and manage those assets, that's organized around how much money is enough. So real estate for me is in that, what I call that investment bucket. It's just, if we all have to build wealth, we all have to build a portfolio of assets that's going to be enough net worth that we can retire and be financially free. And for me, there's just no better way than real estate. And I've invested in all sorts of things, and real estate has just outperformed any other type of investment I've ever done. And it stayed consistent.
Preach, lady, preach.
I mean, yeah, in fact, it's just sad but true. Yesterday, to get my taxes, I'm trying to calculate all my losses on cryptocurrency, putting $250,000 in cryptocurrency, and I'm getting pennies on the dollar, with all these bankruptcies and stuff. And I'm like, well, at least there'll be some tax advantage here. I'm trying to spend it, so real estate, as long as you can hold it, it comes back, and it's there. Like I've tried all these other investments and I've made some money here and there, but real estate is just consistent and permanent, and it doesn't take rocket science, and you control it. I didn't control my crypto money. Somebody else controlled it. And now I'm living with the results of a lot of fraud and a lot of nonsense.
Yes.
And I've put money into a lot of businesses. I've done a lot of private equity. I don't have control. I'm kind of putting it up to just making a good bet. Real estate, you have control and leverage, and you can do sweat equity, and you have the tax advantages and depreciation, and it grows, and it's income producing, and you can do. I just bought my second property in Park City, all 1031 tax free exchange. Is like almost $1 million tax free by just moving the $1 million from one property to another property, and then be able to use something called whole life insurance to borrow against that. And so, real estate is just, like I said, for me, it's just the best investment. That's all I can say.
There's no doubt. I mean, you're talking to someone that's been living it for almost 3 decades. And I agree with you. It's, to me, it's why I invest so heavily in real estate, especially commercial real estate, which is my expertise and my company Alliance. Real estate has so many benefits, between tax benefits. Like you said, you could do 1031 exchange, be able, if you receive $1 in income and you have to pay tax on 80 cents. Most people do not know, and that's what we do very well, is educate investors, accredited investors and family offices all over the world that invest with us. It is incredible diversification in your portfolio. And I love it. And it's part of my lifeblood too, just like you, Krisstina. And so most investors approach real estate as long-term investment. Real estate has different approaches and different lenses. So for example, like for us, we have investors, we're fiduciary of capital. I also invest as well personally in our stuff and as well in other opportunities. And what I see is that when you have investors, it might not always be a long-term approach. It's about what is the best way to be a fiduciary. But the key to real estate's always been the ability to hold, and to have it as a long-term investment. Can you discuss your approach to real estate investments and your perspective of the benefits of long-term ownership?
Yeah, like you at this stage of my life and career, I've kind of wound up as a mentor. I get asked a lot of questions. I guess it's probably of our age and our experience. Let's say wisdom at this point.
Yes. You know what I call it? It's the gray matter between our ears.
There you go. Right. So in like these 3 buckets that I talked about, but there's the earning bucket, and then there's the investing bucket. And real estate can get confused as to what bucket it is. So some people are doing real estate as a means to make an income, meaning working income. So that would be a flip. So a lot of people will ask me about flips and how to invest. And so I've done flips, and I still do an occasional flip. Like if it's the right opportunity and the numbers work, I'll do a flip, but it's short-term money, to your point, meaning like, hey, if I'm going to buy this for $500,000, I'm going to put 200 into it. I can flip it for $1 million. I'm going to keep that profit, and that's income for the year. And I'm going to pay taxes on it for the most part, whatever that profit was. So, and then some people flip houses for real estate. Some people sell real estate for income, and that's great. Like sometimes I've sold or done a flip, and it adds, if I normally make $500,000 a year, I do a flip and it adds another $250,000 at a really good income year that year. But again, that's income. When we're talking about investing's different. It's a different mindset. It's investing for the future. It's building a net worth. It's building assets that have a future cash flow benefit. So investing's always long-term. I mean, not all, but to make the point. So it's understanding, like if I'm doing some flip and making some income over here, but then if I make, let's say $300,000 on the flip, and all the flips, that was how much money I made from profit from my flipping business, let's say, and I use that to pay my household bills, but I take 20%, and now I'm going to put that 20% in a long-term asset. Like I take $100,000 of that and I'm going to put that down on a piece of rental or give it to Ben to invest somewhere. That's for the long term. So it's a way to think about these two. And I've done both. But as far as building a portfolio for future cash flow that's going to enable me to be, to live off that cash flow. Yeah, it's building that long-term strategy. Now, sometimes there's a mid strategy, and that might be a lot of people that work for you. And that's, to think of investing, it's like, oh, I don't want, like I have a day job. I have my own business. So I don't want to be flipping houses. And I don't want to be buying real estate and managing residential and doing all the stuff that Krisstina does over here. That sounds like a pain in the ass. But I want to be able to have some nice gains. And so the midterm is someone maybe it's like, hey, there's a syndicate or something. Like if you have something that's saying, hey, I'm raising capital for this commercial piece or whatever it is. And guess what? You're going to put your money in. We're taking minimum of $100,000. We're going to do this. We're going to buy this B class property. We're going to be renovating it to an A class, and we're going to get the rental income up and all the things. And we think we're going to sell it in about 5 or 7 years, exit out of it, pay dividends along the way, and pay you back. So that's what I call the stepping stone. It's not like you're buying holding for 10, 20, 30 years, but you're still tying your money up for maybe 5 to 7 to 10 years, usually not 10, but let's say 5 to 7. You get a big chunk out. Now you can reinvest it. But those terms, you're usually getting higher IRRs for those midterms, and you're getting money out quicker than if you do like a long-term. So my point of sharing all that is that I love real estate because you can do all three. You can do a flip here and there, make some extra income. You can do the long-term, where you just buy residential or you invest it so that it grows in net worth and, grows that net cash flow. And you can invest with Ben with the midterm to have some really good exits along the way that are going to help you build the long-term faster. So I don't know if that makes sense. But again, that's why I love real estate, because it's just such a big playground.
Yeah. And there's different structures. There's different types of investor. But when our investors come into our deals, they don't want to leave, especially our funds. It's because it's challenging. Commercial real estate is challenging. It's not for the faint of heart. It's a lot of analysis and underwriting. And what ends up happening is you have to really be in the water every day to be in commercial real estate because of understanding the credit worthiness of tenants, understanding default risk. How do you manage risk? And real estate is very sensitive to market fluctuations, as we're seeing right now. Krisstina, how do you approach risk management in real estate? We have a tremendous amount of underwriting. I have a whole staff that does due diligence on our acquisitions and risk management on a daily basis, whether it be our property or asset management on our investments, our portfolio. How do you approach risk management in real estate? And what's been your approach over the years?
Well, mine's much simpler. You're in a much more complicated business. And that's why if you want to make some good returns, you want to invest your money, you don't want to have to pay attention to your own. You invest, but you want to be in real estate, you invest with you, right? It's like, hey, take my money, put it in these funds, help me achieve my long-term financial goals, my net worth goals. And, I have a lot of money in different funds, but funds are more about the people, not about the fund.
That's right.
And that's why you have to invest, you have to know who the fund manager is. But you're investing in the manager that, like you said, is mitigating the risk, looking at all the things, have the right teams, is fully in this. And there's a lot of funds out there that are not managed well. So again, buying the person. For me, when it's just come with, over my career has been to buy a property. I'm all residential real estate. So mine's been to buy 1 to 2 properties every 1 to 2 years. And since sometimes I've flipped out of them and built them. And so it's really, sometimes I've sold some to pay off debt of others. So it's built a really nice real estate portfolio. And I've gone into that with just the end in mind, knowing what net worth I wanted and how much cash flow I wanted. And that's the strategy I built in. So for me, that's tip number 1 is you need to know how much money is enough. What is the net worth that you're building towards? What's the cash flow, the income producing assets, and how much money is enough? Like what type of cash flow are you looking for? That's going to have a lot to do with your investment strategy, but you have to start there versus just throwing money out there and hoping it's all going to work out. So that's step number 1. So I've done that. Now, 2, I've made money in all markets. Like I don't really pay attention. I mean, I pay attention to the market. Like is prices going up or prices coming down? Obviously that matters. So when prices are coming down like they are now, it's riskier in the sense that we don't know how far they're going to go down. And if you buy a certain price, they're going to go down. But with long-term real estate goes up. So as long as you can wait it out on one hand. And then 2, so the markets matter less. prices going up or down. If you're in a long-term strategy, in a short term, it matters a lot. That matters a lot. But again, I'm all long-term. That's how I built my portfolio. And then my mindset is I make money on the buy. And again, this is for residential real estate. So again, I can't say I know anything about
in commercial, the money's always in the dirt. It's always how you buy a property. It's everything.
Yeah. So, I make money on the buy. And so I'm just looking at if I had to turn around and flip it, looking at the numbers, analyzing things, doing worst case scenarios, can I ride this out if something were to happen unexpectedly? But outside of those factors, could I make money that if push came to shove, I could sell out of this and I could make my money back at the minimum, but then some. But it's looking for the deals and opportunities. So real estate investing is about the deal. Mm-hmm. And there's always deals. Right now can be a good life. Is a great time to buy. Like, again, you want to buy when nobody else is buying and everybody else is selling. So prices are coming down right now, which is great. People are afraid of interest rates, but there are a lot of desperate sellers right now that are willing to do seller financing, and they might be fixed in a 3%. And if you can get it for 4%, and you don't even have to touch today's interest rates. So it's all about structuring the term and deals right now that allow you to buy a good piece of real estate at a good price, at a good interest rate, and making money is all about the margin. So you just see make sure the rentals are going to be able to support. It's not rocket science. Residential real estate is actually really easy, but you can't just buy the emotional energy when things are going great and you think you're just going to make money because, real estate always goes up.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things you touched on. They're definitely in this environment, we're seeing more seller finance across the board, whether it's residential or commercial. Especially in commercial, we're seeing more and more as lenders and banks are trying to unload their commercial real estate portfolios. There's $2.8 trillion of commercial real estate mortgages coming due, Krisstina, in the next 28 months, which means trouble is brewing in our economy. And that's where opportunity is. So you're going to see more seller finances. You're going to see more sale leasebacks in commercial real estate, more people when unemployment starts increasing that want to sell. So it's great opportunities to keep your powder dry and be patient. And that's why I tell people is to be patient and good things will happen. As someone, Krisstina, who's navigated both the highs and lows of entrepreneurship, what are some of the lessons or principles you could share with everyone that you consider fundamental for thriving in the business world, even some of the things you teach for any venture you take on?
Well, man, we've touched on so many of them, but one is to get out of the hustle. Yeah. Everything starts with me, like we've talked about it. It's to step out of the hustle and to, like we've talked about, is to ask the question, what is a good life? How much does it cost to live it? And what do we as a family or me as an individual need to do either to earn income, and how much income to be able to take care of the life that I want? And that's it. And then it's just having really good values and principles that we live to. And like you and I talked about, it's not just business principles. It's what are our life principles, like what are our life values, what's our marriage values, what are our health values, what are our family values. And when we're really connected to values and fulfillment, it's amazing how much easier everything else is. And the final thing I'd say is that to have a game plan for building wealth and financial freedom. Like we have to have financial success. We need to have enough money. It needs to be well managed and that to have less stress in our life. But I think that the day-to-day is just, it's again, quit living in the there and be in the now, and just learning to be more satisfied with what we have and grateful for what we have while we're building and growing into what we want, as opposed to being completely dissatisfied. And that so much of the dissatisfaction comes from this final point that I'll say is we just call that comparison game. We know with all the social media and with everything, like when you and I started, we didn't have all this. We just went out and busted ass and, worked hard and were very ambitious and didn't really pay, there wasn't all this social pressure all the time. So I think that the last piece of this is to really get out of this comparison game and have the humble, the humility, the vulnerability, ask, questions and ask for advice and be real, and just not when we know how much money is enough, when we know what is our good life, and we know our own values, nobody else's story matters because we're not comparing against anything else, because we've already developed this is meaningful in the inside. We don't care about the outside.
And it's very well said, because it kind of leans in on be careful who you surround yourself with. And you look at social media, you look at outside influences, and what pours into you and your mind will have a tremendous impact on you. So I advise people out there is, who's your inner circle? Show me your friends. I'll show you your future. Careful who you surround yourself with. Those were some of the lessons I've learned through my career. And also real estate, whether it's commercial real estate like I do, or Krisstina does as a residential real estate expert. It's a marathon business. So what does that mean? You have to be patient. You have to continue to grow, continue to educate yourself. It's really taking control of your life. And as our show, own it. Own your actions, own your behavior, be responsible. You create your own life, and keep educating yourself and growing. Ask questions. A lot of people don't want to be vulnerable. They're afraid to be judged, and they won't ask questions. And I think it hurts them in business, especially in commercial real estate, especially in this environment. If I was younger and didn't have the experience that Ben Reinberg has, I would be leaning in on people and saying, how do I navigate this environment? How do I deal with the lack of liquidity and financing out there? How do I deal in valuing this property, whether it's residential or commercial? Resiliency is a key trait, Krisstina, in anything we do, especially to be a successful entrepreneur. I know it's one of my strengths is being resilient, having thick skin, getting off the mat and keep going. And I don't believe in contractions. Can't, won't, shouldn't. It won't happen. It will happen. Mm-hmm. And it's belief. What practices and habits have helped you stay resilient and persistent in the face of challenges to be successful like you are today?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, it's worth 2 cents, but you can't succeed in business not being resilient. Business is the mat. You get your ass handed to you. And just when you think you figured it out, you get your ass handed to you again. So it is just the way it is, because there's so many different people and economies. And I mean, all sorts of things happen. So, if you don't have the resiliency piece built in, then I'd say don't be an entrepreneur. It will challenge everything about you. So I think absolutely resiliency, and just believing in myself, in the way that if I don't know the answer, I will ask for help. Knowledge is power, just always learning and educating. And when I get my ass handed to me, it's like, all right, that was a dono. What do I need to learn? Who do I need to become? And like you said, surrounding myself by the people that I do trust, and that we're all in this together, and being very committed to creating the future that I want, and being willing to do what it takes to achieve those results. Ooh, bless you.
Thank you.
But yeah, just getting up every day and making it a good day to get close to where I want to be.
As you and I both know, real estate is a complex journey, and people are intimidated by how to get started. Now, I'm not a great example. I was young, naive, and stupid. I just jumped in the deep water and did it. And maybe that was a blessing for me. But some people that have a career, or some people that have a job right now, or they have an environment around them that doesn't support them, the naysayers, I call it. What do you suggest people do to get started in the real estate industry?
I mean, it's the same answer I'd give if somebody's getting started in anything. If you want to have the best YouTube channel, if you want to have, I mean, it's just to go learn, like pick up the books, listen to the podcasts. There's so many programs, but educate yourself first. Like I said, I mean, there's how many real estate podcasts are out there. Yeah. It's very easy these days. Like back in our day, we actually had to go find books and do things. Like now there's a podcast in every corner. There's so that's it. Just start learning and start picking up the lingo and start learning, if you listen to any of us, we can tell you all the mistakes we made and where we lost $1 million here by doing this stupid thing or that stupid thing, and be listening to the mistakes we've made more than probably the successes we've had. But that's where I'd say to start. Start by listening, and you'll gain that confidence, and then either start small and based on everything you've learned to buy your first piece of real estate. But what's great about real estate also is there's different ways to invest. One way is to, let's say, buy a piece of rental property and do that and go that route. And that's my way. But you can also, like I said, invest in real estate funds and syndicates that have really nice returns. And you can do it hands off and still take advantages of what real estate offers as far as an investment and tax strategy and different things. So if you want to be hands off, and then it's finding the right people to invest in. Like I said, it's less about the investments themselves and more about the fund managers. And that's probably why people are listening to your show, is that, I want to invest in real estate, want to be hands off. So I'm going to give my money to Ben that's going to manage it well.
And it's true, because people ask me all the time, well, Ben, who do you invest in? And obviously I invest in what we do, but I invest with other people, whether it's real estate or private equity. And it comes down to one thing, like you said, the people. I want people that are solution oriented. So you can invest with anyone. They'll pay you a preferred return every quarter and drop it right in your bank account. But Krisstina, what I want to know, and for everyone out there, when you're looking to invest with people, and this is why we shine as a company and my leadership team is I want to invest with people that are solutionary oriented. I want to know when the chips are down and you're on the mat, how are you going to get up and solve a challenge? Because that's the horse I'm betting on, because life is not perfect and things happen. Just like you said, people get their ass handed to. Now, I'm not saying we get our ass handed to at Alliance. We're pretty damn good at what we do and have an incredible track record. But there's things that arise, deals that don't close that we have to switch and do an audible and be solution oriented, or a tenant doesn't stay for a reason that you have no idea what the decision was and you didn't plan on it when you first invested in that property. And so things happen, economies change, administrations change, interest rates change. There is change all around us in business and life. How do you deal with it? How do you rise to the challenges? And I think I should write a book about that, because that's what this is about. It's creativity. And we go back to what I said earlier, is giving yourself enough space. When you can give yourself enough space, you can become solution oriented. You can be calm and not triggered. That's who people want to invest with. People want to invest with people that can make great decisions. How do you make great decisions? So people say, well, Ben, why do you meditate 2 times a day? I do it because I can be the best version of myself that shows up to the world, be able to make great, intelligent decisions and not get triggered. And that's what it's about. Those are some of the key aspects of real estate, is to be able to slow down so you could speed up. And so before we wrap up, what's the best way to stay engaged with you, Krisstina, and learn more about you and hear about all your teachings?
People want to listen to a lot of what we've talked about today. It's the Wealthy podcast. And so
I believe I'm coming on that podcast.
You're on my podcast. You're coming up, I think, in a couple of weeks. So
wait,
so that'll be fun.
Flip the table. I love it.
The Wealthy podcast is a great way. And then the other thing is I have a quiz that I call it that tests entrepreneurs how well they know their money. And so it takes 5 minutes. It's super fun, but there are 10 quick questions that it's a quiz. So it gives us a score to see, hey, I really understand kind of the fundamentals of money. And it's super fun. I invite anybody to take that quiz because it's pretty revealing. And at first, when I had an idea of what the quiz results might be when I first created this, but now thousands, I don't know, over 10,000 people have taken this quiz. And the average score, and these are people that make good incomes. It's you and I. It's all the different, business owners, entrepreneurs. They're making, that have a good business. The average score of this quiz is 35%. The goal is to have 100%. Like we're failing. If we're looking at this like a normal scale for, an A, B, C, or D, we're failing. And so I like everybody to take that quiz. It's just their own diagnostic, their own self-diagnostic. I don't see the scores. Nobody sees the scores. It's just a really, like I said, a diagnostic tool to see where is my money mindset and where is my money acumen, that if it's lower, let's say 80, 90%, and my financial situation isn't where I want it to be, there's the answer. There's a lot of dono in here. So I'd invite anybody in. It's wisemoneymethod.com/quiz. And like, if anybody wants to take that, that's a great way, like I said, just to get a little bit of self-reflection, financial self-reflection.
And where do you find that quiz? Like where do people enter your universe to get this access to information?
Yeah, the URL is wisemoneymethod.com.
Okay.
/quiz. So go and take the quiz. You'll ace it, but it's just, like I said, it's super fun. wisemoneymethod.com/quiz.
All right, Krisstina, let's wrap up with our 3 questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. Now you got to be vulnerable. Okay. Here we go. How old are you?
I'm 55.
Oh, you look fantastic. We'll get into health later, but obviously you're doing great things to stay healthy. So you're 55-year-old, intelligent, sophisticated woman who's been outstanding, successful, and creative in residential real estate. Go back to when you were 16 years old and you can talk to yourself, and you're laying down on our couch in Laguna Beach in our studio. And I say, what would you share with yourself now, knowing what you know now and the success you created, that you could share with your 16-year-old self?
Oh man, I love this question. And man, I would have told my 16 to 21, 22-year-old self so many things, right? One thing I would have said, just if we had, if we're looking at this as a crystal ball, is you're going to be successful. So quit worrying about all the stuff, like just all the stuff that you think matters doesn't matter. Life is going to be good. You're going to succeed, and let all this nonsense go. So that'd be one of the things I'd tell her. Another thing I'd tell her is it doesn't matter what you think other people think. Don't spend so much time worrying about what other people think or say about you. That'd be a big one. In fact, you're going to succeed despite all that. And then I would have told my college age self to, again, just enjoy the experience, and all of this isn't really going to matter. Just really soak in the education, the experience, and don't make it so much about having to get the straight A's all the time, because nobody cares about the A's. And then myself, probably out of college and getting into just business and career, would have been what we've talked about, is slow down, smell the roses along the way, know that there's these other life concerns as well. And you have plenty of time to figure it out, to build the business, to live a good life. You don't have to do it all in 5 minutes. So I think those would be some of the
well said
pieces of advice.
Perfect. It's our last day on earth. God forbid. It's just me and you, Krisstina. It's our last meal together. Your choice. What are we eating? And what are we drinking?
Oh man, let's see.
Now the real Krisstina Wise is coming out. Here we go.
If I have to choose one meal and we're eating out, it's probably going to be in one of the best sushi restaurants in the world. So if we had a choice, that's probably where I'm going to go, because one thing, talk about enjoying life. Before I got sick, food, I didn't pay attention to my health. Food was just sustenance. You just do it. Right. I didn't spend any time enjoying. Ben, I love food now. Good quality, healthy food, and the flavor, and chewing and enjoying every bite. And so that's why there was sushi, I just can put something in my mouth and just it's an explosion of flavors, and I'm so happy. So that's why sushi. And then, I don't drink, so I don't know what we'd be drinking, but if it was the last day of on earth and we got to fully enjoy this experience, I'm probably going to ask the sommelier what the best wine on the menu is, and enjoy the explosion of that experience as well.
Do we get dessert with this meal?
Absolutely dessert. And then we'll have them bring out whatever amazing dessert. There's a sushi restaurant called Uchiko in Austin. And
I know where that is.
Uchiko. So they just have the best dessert. So your sushi, your good glass of wine, and your dessert. And
all right.
It's a magical experience for sure.
I love that. So in our studio in Laguna Beach, Krisstina, we have a black door. And inside our studio, we have a grand piano, we have a drum set, and we have electric and acoustical guitars throughout. If you're in studio with me and you could have any band or musician come in studio and play us a song. Now, Krisstina, they could be living or deceased.
Oh, gosh.
Who is walking through that black door and playing us a song? And what song are they playing us?
That's funny. So the first person that comes to mind is one of my favorite artist musicians. His name is Ludovico. And he plays the piano, and it's the most beautiful music you've ever heard, like where you can just start sobbing, no lyrics, but just the music. And I've never picked up an instrument in my life, so I don't know anything about music except how it makes me feel. And that's who would walk in the door, and just to be right there. And when you listen to the music without knowing anything about music, it's brilliance. I mean, it's just sitting down and being like, how do you do that in the mind that created and wrote this music and plays this music? And anyway, so that's who I would bring in to be right there up close and personal. Would be such an amazing experience.
And is there a song that he'd be playing us?
I don't know the name of my favorite song of his. I'd have to look it up, but
all right.
Yeah.
Well, Krisstina Wise, thank you for joining us today on the I Own It show. What a privilege, and enjoyed. I always love talking real estate with folks. So thank you for all the knowledge you dropped today. And I'm sure our audience really enjoyed it. If you are interested in listening to more episodes like this on the Ben Reinberg I Own It show, kick that right hand button and click subscribe. Feel free to click the like button as much as possible, especially this episode. Because as I say in the ether, let it go viral. To follow me, go to benreinberg.com. I'm on all the social media platforms. And that's right, kids, I am on TikTok. And to follow my company, go to alliancecgc.com. We're the leaders in investing in commercial real estate in the United States. And if you are an accredited investor and you are looking to build wealth for you and your family and create a legacy, look no further. Go to alliancecgc.com. Click on our brand new fund, the Alliance Medical Property Fund. We're one of the leaders in the United States in investing in medical office, and we can show you and your family how you can build cash flow and wealth and take advantage of the tax benefits that our country offers. So feel free to click invest with us now, and we are happy to help you. Krisstina Wise, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a privilege to have you on the show, and we wish you all the best.
Thanks, Ben, and I'll see you on the Wealthy podcast.
Can't wait.
All right.
Thanks again.
My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the I Own It podcast with Ben Reinberg. To hear our past episodes and connect with Ben, visit benreinberg.com.